Welcome to this quick start guide of the library text models. This library has been described in this journal paper. This I'm Mario Graf, and this work has been done with my colleagues Daniela Moctezuma, Sabina Miranda, Eric Salit. There is also an open version of the journal paper in the archive. This is the open version of it. Let's describe how to use text models. The first step is to install it. These packages, we are going to use these packages, but they are not related to text models. The first step to install it, you can install it using pip with this command. We are also going to use word cloud. So let's install word cloud. And this function is just to create the word cloud. So it's just a helper function. Now that you have installed text models, let me talk to you about the different things that we are going to talk about, which is the mobility. We can retrieve mobility from text models. We can also retrieve text, words, and bigrams. And with text and with the words and bigrams, we can create different applications, and we are going to see two of them, which is the earthquake and the similarity between Spanish-speaking countries. Let's talk about mobility. The mobility I'm going to show is the mobility that for these four different countries: Mexico, Canada, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. I'm going to show two different versions. The first version that I'm going to show is using the mobility class, and the second one is the mobility weekday. The mobility weekday transform the mobility into a percentage. So you can see like the mobility today has been reduced by 20% compared to yesterday or compared to previous week. That's the idea of mobility. So you have a baseline and you compare the mobility with that baseline, and that the baseline is based on the weekdays. With this statement, mobility, you give the data you want to start analyzing the mobility, and then you can say how many days before that day you want. So the size of the history, the length of the history, or you can also supply the end of the history, which is the end point of the history. In this for this exercise, we are going to use as a starting point March 13 to a starting point March 13, 2022, and the end point is going to be January 6, 2020, which is one of them is a Monday and the other one is a Sunday. So just to have everything in weeks. Once we run this, we are going to have an instance of mobility, and then we can query about the overall mobility, and we are going to use, we can retrieve the information using pandas. So if we see it, then what we are going to see is something like that. XX are all the countries, so it is an aggregation of all the countries that are not Mexico, Canada, Russia, and Saudi Arabia. The list of countries that we want to retrieve are in this parameter. You can also set that to none, and then you will retrieve everything. Let's try to see this information in a figure using, well, now that it is in pandas, you can use some libraries, some functions of pandas, and then you can see the information of mobility. This flat point is that we lost we couldn't have a streaming of Russia, so we don't have enough information to compute the mobility on Russia, because we don't have tweets from where the language is Russian. Now, let's try to see another example, which is the mobility of weekday. We are using the default parameter, and again we are using pandas to retrieve the the information to present the information. So the information is stored in that variable d, and a little bit of right now I'm only interested in Mexico, uh, because I'm going to present a box plot. So we resample the data from Mexico, and for we resample using weeks, days, and sometimes we miss, as you can see, we miss some of the days. So if we miss some of the days, that not all the weeks are going to have 7 days, seven measurements, because there are empty ones. And then to handle that, what we are going to do is, if we don't have a day with 7 days, then we are going to use the median to fill the gaps. Once we fill the gaps and we have this dictionary, we can plot it using, again, pandas. And if we plot it, what we are going to see is all the mobility in Mexico from all these weeks, presented as a box plot. And well, you can see how the COVID pandemic, affected the mobility. And then we can also see some of the times where the government imposed some restrictions, but the mobility never reached the first part. I mean, it never reaches this point, and we need to figure out why, but we haven't do research on why it didn't go up. Maybe Twitter lost users, or maybe we are not retrieving the same data that we were retrieving these days. The policy may have changed or something. Now, let's move to the second application. The idea of the library is to facilitate the usage of this data in order to build another research. And the idea of this Quickstart guide is to help to facilitate the process of using the library. Now, let's retrieve the text. The texts can be retrieved from the class vocabulary, and let's retrieve one particular day, which is the Valentine's Day. The language that we're going to use is English, and the country we're interested is United States. So if we retrieve that one, but I need to run it, because if I don't run it, then I'm presenting a word cloud of something different. As you can see, I execute some of these cells before, so we don't waste time on running it. But it sometimes it's not a good idea to run everything. Well, while we are waiting, okay, finished. Now we can see a particular day. What we are going to see is, of course, the stop words. So with the library, we can remove the common words. We also can remove the emojis, because with this configuration, the word cloud doesn't present emojis nicely. So if we remove the common words and we remove the emojis, what we are going to see, well, of course, we are going to see some of the words that are related to Valentine's Day. And if we want to remove, given that we have a lot of information, we can go for all the different for February 14 that we have in the library, and go for all those works of all those days, and try to figure out which are the common words on just that particular day, and then we can remove that particular day from the day that we are interested. So with this function, we go for all the days of previous years. Then we can compute the common words, and we can keep only the 90%, that the words that have as a frequency, compute as a frequency the 90% of all the mass. And we can use these common words, and we can remove it, and we can see the result of that word cloud. And what we are going to see is an event, or are the words that are more frequent, that doesn't have anything to do with Valentine's, or it could be one Valentine's that contains the year, that can also be seen in this word cloud. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time, I think, because we are retrieving some of the, well, for the February 14th, all the Valentine's Day for all the different years, and may take a while to download them. I'm going to, okay. As soon as we finish, we are going to see the cloud. I'm going to return to that cloud, but first, let me talk to you about what are we going to do on the application, which is the earthquake. In the earthquake, what we are going to do, we are going to retrieve all the vocabulary. We are going to use different functions. What we are going to do is we are going to retrieve all the words that are in this period from January 1st, 2016 up to March 13, 2022. We are going to use this helper function, available dates, which is going to give us all the days where we have information, and if a day is not, if in a particular day our stream we didn't collect any information, that is going to be skipped. So we go for that range, and we are interested in Spanish, and the countries that we're interested are none. It means that we are going to retrieve the data from all the tweets that doesn't have geographical information. Okay, this is still running. Now, once we have collected all the dates, what we are going to do is to make an instance of vocabulary for each particular day, and we are going to, of course, we are interested in Spanish, and we are only going to look for the word terremoto, which is earthquake in Spanish. I think, oh, now we can see that Bernie Sanders was a major topic on that particular day, and this topic was hidden because it was on Valentine's Day. Now let's move on to the earthquake. I already have run all of this, and we can go for all the information. We retrieve all the vocabularies from all the dates that we have information, and then we are just interested in the word earthquake, terremoto in Spanish, and we can have as a series the frequency of that word. And if we see that frequency, what we are going to see is the following figure, which tells us the frequency of the word earthquake. And as we can see, there are some spikes, and those spikes correspond to major earthquakes. These ones are from Mexico, and the other ones are, we are going to see what the other ones are. What we are going to do is to plot those words that have a frequency higher than 20,000. So let's retrieve those words that have a frequency of higher than 20,000, which is in this line. Then we can remove the common words in that one, and finally what we can do is create the cloud of terremoto, and let's see if that happens. And well, this is the words that appear on those days that have a frequency of the word earthquake higher than 10,000, and we can see that this is the countries that were affected by those by earthquakes. We can see Italy, we can see Ecuador, Mexico, Oaxaca, which is a state of Mexico. The final application is the similarity between the Spanish-speaking countries. And for this application, what we are going to do is, well, again, we are going to use the class vocabulary. What we are going to retrieve is randomly 30 days from these dates, which is starting in January 2019 and ending on November 1st, 2021. For the Spanish-speaking countries, which are these ones, we also use the vocabulary, the available dates. So what it's going to do, available dates, is we ask for 30 days. So as soon as it finds 30 days that has information for all these countries, it's going to stop it. Once we have the dates, we are going to retrieve the vocabulary, but now using the country that we are interested in. And sometimes, well, to make this clear, sometimes we are going to retrieve 30 days from Mexico, 30 days from Colombia, and so on. And these are going to be the vocabulary. Then we are going to, now that we have the vocabulary, we are going to keep only those tokens that appear in we're going to have the from all the vocabularies, we're going to have that from all the different countries. We are going to see which is the country that has the less number of tokens, and we are going to call it that one. And then we are only interested on the most common tokens, the 10% of the most common tokens, which is this value. And with that one, what we can use is, once we have the tokens, we can measure, we have the tokens, the most frequent tokens for each country, and we can measure using Jacquard, we can make a similarity matrix for all the different countries. We can transform that matrix into keeping only the first two components using PCA, and then we can plot it to see the difference, or to know the difference between the different countries. And of course, countries have the same, we need to have this, given that I don't want to run this again, but I'm going to do is just countries. I used the variable countries previously, which only contains Mexico, Canada, Russia, and Russia. So I'm using again that this variable countries, and to see the final result, which is this one. And what we can see is that Cuba is far away from everybody. Mexico is close to Guatemala, and Honduras, well, Central America, which makes sense because we speak similar. We can see also that Argentina and Uruguay are close together, and also makes sense because they are neighbors, and so on. I hope you enjoyed this quick start guide. Going to keep it going to the top of it, and going to finish with this quick start guide. The library text models is described in this journal paper, and the quick start guide was just a starting point on how to use the library. Have an excellent day.